You're listening to the HBI podcast. Health, business, and in between. Physio, chiro, and myotherapy. Please welcome your host, the chiro, Nathan Bridger.
I adjusted people on Christmas Day.
The physio, Ben Humphries.
My hair's growing back, my eyebrows are back, mate, I'm good.
And the myotherapist, Mina Garris.
We can't change body parts, but we can strengthen them.
Get into it.
And welcome back. Episode 3, HBI podcast. Health, business, and in between. We like it, we're sticking with it, and we're rolling forward. And today, episode 3, ironically, we're interviewing me, so I'm going to get off the mic.
How are we, boys?
Good, brother.
Right.
How's that business of yours coming along?
It's coming. Look, it's a few curveballs, but nothing we can't kind of handle. But we should be open for Monday, the 14th of October, so I can't wait. But this time's about you. So, Benny, let's fire some questions at this lovely chiropractor.
All right, who we got here? We got Mina Garris, we got Nathan Bridger, and we got myself.
You can say your name, man. It's not weird. We got Benjamin Humphries.
Oh, thank you. That's another step up. All right, so today, as Nate said, we interviewed Mina last week, and we found out all about him, why he does what he does, what a myotherapist is, and basically his backstory. Now we're going to do a very similar thing with Nathan today. So, Nath, first question, what is your profession and why did you get into it?
So everyone shouldn't be surprised by now that I am a chiropractor. It started for me pretty simply. I started seeing a chiropractor when I was in my late sort of teenage years because I was getting a few issues playing rugby, and just the way it helped me sort of led me down that path. Now, it wasn't straight away. I actually spent 5 years as a wharfie working ports down in Fremantle, but ended up going to uni to do sports science, and we were the first year of sports science at Murdoch Uni back in Perth, and we were sharing all the units with the chiros. And as I sort of hung around that a bit more, I was like, all right, this is really what I want to do.
Awesome. See, this is a good thing about finding out. Last week I didn't find out about Mina. You did nursing to start with. You were a wharfie for a couple of years. That's sick. So how long did you do sports science before you converted across?
So just the first year. So I took the first year, made sure I hit all the levels I had to pull across. So I think one of the big things as well, being there, I remember our dean of sports science coming down and just being like, yo, unless you want to be a sports teacher, you need to be thinking about what you're going to do after this, because that's really where this takes you right now. And I love education, but being a high school sports teacher was not the game I was going to play. And just seeing the stuff with chiropractic and the experience I'd had with it, that's where I think it lit things up for me.
Perfect. And plus, we all started a similar sort of story. We've all been treated by our current professions, as we played sport and that sort of thing. So that's good. So what did you get treated for?
I actually have it was for some back issues, but what we found out is I have a thing called Schumann's disorder, which is sort of like, everyone sort of knows scoliosis, which is where the spine sort of goes a little bit to the side as you go through there, or a lot in some cases. Schumann's is sort of like it goes forward. So the front of the vertebra, if you imagine a square, the front wedges down a little bit, almost looks a bit like in older people, like a compression fracture. So just towards the base of my rib cage, 3 of the vertebrae, they're wedged over, which gives me a little bit of a sort of hump or a kyphosis or an excess of kyphosis there. And then the byproduct of that, because we have to remember that the human body is 3-dimensional, not 2-dimensional, it's not symmetrically wedged forward. So it naturally has one side higher than the other. So I also had a bit of a lumbar scoliosis that went with it. So obviously unaware of this, just getting some issues with rugby. I think my mum just noticed as we were doing push-ups in training, you could just see my back looking different coming up. And I think just at that time, my father had been seeing a chiropractor as a recommendation for one of his mates. And they said, well, why don't you bring Nathan in? And, I went, and that's where we found out about it all.
Perfect.
Saying from something painful turns into something you love.
100%, man. And listen, I saw myo, I saw physio, and I love that as well because rugby. I had a combined 13 AC separations over the years between the two shoulders. So I was doing a lot of treatment work and things like that. And there was a time I think, in that first year of uni where I was making a decision whether I would go chiro or physio. And a guy that's still one of my best mates now, Big Alex Freeman, is a chiropractor back in south of Perth. He was like, listen, you're already here. You might as well just rock this. And if you want, go do a master's in physio after. And I was like, all right, that's pretty logical and makes sense. Let's do it.
That's awesome. So how long have you been at chiro now for, Nate?
I graduated in 2013. So what is that, like 6 years now? Coming up on 6 years?
6 years.
Which has been, it's been a crazy ride, man.
It would have been. So from when you kind of had your first year doing it to now, how do you think you've kind of progressed over the last 5 years? Because personally, I love it more now than I did back then.
Yeah, like 100%. Like, I think you walk out of school and you sort of have all these systems. Like, you're like, A, and if B plus C equals D kind of thing, and you just work down the system. Whereas with time, you can't replace experience. You know what I mean? Like, this is one of the arguments I often have with crew that have never worked like in practice, of just been doing research. And research, obviously, not poo-pooing. I love research. It's really important. But if you never put your hands on a human body, it's very hard to understand how different every human being is. And so I think with experience, you learn. Sometimes I think my business coach said it once to me, and I think it was the best thing I've ever heard. A lot of the time, it's less about, like, people come to me and it's less about the adjustment I did on the body. It was more the one I gave them between the ears. And so a large part, before it was just all about, X treatment. Now it's all about education as a way to empower and move things forward. And so how I did things then, how I do things now are so different. And I think I think for all of us, if we look back 5 years or more ago, there's certain things where you're like, God, did I do that? Was that a thing that I thought? Which is good, because it means you've actually, had some critical thinking and moved forward.
Yeah, 100%. I was so trash when I came out as a physio, man. It was so bad. I didn't even know what I was doing.
Mate, just all that ultrasound, just rubbing it up and down
on the floor.
Yeah, I just said, I just ran with it like the old, I don't like the saying anymore, but it's fake it till you make it. But when you have no clue, you got to run with it because people are paying for it.
Yeah, and there's a line to that, because you're not truly faking it. Like, you've got an education, so you've at least got some basis. Like, fake it till you make it's only appropriate when you're at least coming from an educated background. It's more faking confidence rather than, like, I have a real problem with a lot of, let's say, coaching, where they're like faking it till they make it. And I was like, so what did you make it as previously? Oh, nothing.
Yeah, you're right.
This is awesome. Look, we kind of have the ability of hindsight now, and I since starting up my business, funny you touch on the coach thing, but they're not paying for it. I'm kind of being a bit of a mentor just to help people. I don't want money for it or anything like that. I actually get a real big kick out of helping people. So I had actually a physio come to me yesterday. It was a mate of mine, but, not the best in business, but he's got really good knowledge. Mm-hmm. So helping other practitioners, I think, is a part of what we really want to do, right? It's about that value. It's about that content. So looking in hindsight now, anyone who's looking to be a chiro, any tips or advice you could give them around how to kind of be in a better position in 5 years' time?
There's a couple of things. I think, one, you got to have an open mind, but you also got to know when to close it. So one of the things I say to everyone's like, spend some time with chiropractors and then spend some time with physios and myos. Like, just go spend some, like, I spent countless hours, like, in these sort of things. And then, or like, get a job as an assistant or a receptionist for one of those practitioners. Like, if you're really going to spend your life in it, you want to make sure you love it. So get around it and learn. Because, as I can only assume education for myo and physio is the same, that it's just giving you enough tools to kind of be safe. It's not giving you, like, the skill that I think, and I was listening to RX Radio, Steffi Cohen talk to Jordan Shallow, a little shout out to those guys. And they were like, the biggest thing you probably get from uni is the ability to appraise and critically think.
That's right.
Like, everything else isn't that big deal. Mina on his phone there. I'm putting the video podcast up. They're going to catch him out. For those can't see, Mr. Business down below there can't. Hollywood can't stay off his phone.
We're creating things. We've got to build this content.
That's it, man. Oh, all right. I thought he was just swiping.
No, just a photo.
He's not that rude.
But yeah, like I think you just got to spend some time. You got to have an open mind. Listen, there's certain things that I see practitioners doing that I maybe don't understand. So for start, I'm willing to find out about. All the stuff I see them doing, and I'm just like, that's shit. And you have to be honest about that. Like, there's a level of, all right, I understand that. That's good. And my thing's always been, as long as people are actually getting benefit, I don't really care that much. But I know what I do.
Exactly right. It's about, like I tell a lot of people, like I rant a lot on about, and we all do, is we're results-based therapists. So we take into consideration, obviously, safety and obviously no neglect, but also what the evidence says, and then what we know works best in our skill set. Like, as I said yesterday on my Insta, I said it's about,
that was cool.
And it doesn't really matter if it's fucking. I just had a dude tell me that Reiki really helped him. I'm like, look, bro, I don't know. Because I don't know what it is. I don't have a great understanding. But look, if it helped and you didn't have symptoms afterwards, I said, look,
it worked.
I can't argue with that.
I mean, and it doesn't matter whether it was placebo or in the mind or things like that. It's better.
It worked.
Like, better. Like, I used to laugh with people. I had I think it was a medical practitioner tell a patient of mine that what I do is placebo, and I was just like, and that I was real happy because that patient turned around to the doctor and was like, well, why does he get me better and you can't? If it's just placebo, right. Like, why can't you do it?
Yeah.
And I was just like, zing. But yeah, there's a line here, right? Like, there still has to be some like biological plausibility, but again, like you said, if people are getting better, let them get better.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Touching back on what you mentioned before, for what Mina asked you about, advice for students or early practitioners or even current practitioners, it's like, I tell you, we say the same sort of stuff. It's like, before you jump in, just dip your toe in. Make sure you know what you're getting into. You actually enjoy that aspect of chiro, physio, myo, because each of our industries have massive scope to be working with geriatrics, working with sports teams, working in private practice, working in education. So it's, as you said, great advice is actually test it before you do it to make sure that you like it. They'll save you changing courses and delaying you starting that career. Yeah.
And everything's uncomfortable at first, but don't just keep pushing down it because you decided that was the thing. Like, I'm the first to admit, like, one of the big things I thought I was going to work in was actually pediatrics. That was a big passion for me initially. I did countless extra bits of training and all this kind of stuff. And even when I was a student, I was paying big dollars to go do courses and online education so I could make sure I was the best I could be for it. And although I do a lot of work with probably like your school-age kids with terms of athletic development and stuff like that, when it comes to infants and stuff like that, I'm trained in it. I don't really have a passion for it. And I have an amazing crew across town here, and I just send them all there. And I got no problem with that. I'm just like, you know what? They're like, what do you think? I was like, you should go over here. Because they're just going to do better, man. They love it. Like,
one thing you touched on last time, Nathan, it's really kind of stuck with me, and I've been talking about it to clients ever since. Like, the guy that I sent you the X-rays to, right? That wording, I struggle with, right? And so I could get that feedback from you, interpret it in my kind of language, and now I can speak to osteos and other people and explain stuff confidently, right? And I kind of pretty happy with myself in terms of, like, I could explain that now to someone, right? And I could direct that person. I said, you know what, adjustments, and that is not me, but I know who can. So the fact that, we've been able to help them by sending them somewhere else and they get a good result, not monetary, couldn't care less. And the first thing they say is, once they fix that, I'm coming back to you for the rest of the stuff.
That's right.
It's
quite a big win.
Yeah, it's the exact thing Ben talked about yesterday on the gram. Like, don't have a scarcity mindset, man. There are too many people around that need our help to be worried about someone else taking your business. And you know what's real bad for business? Trying to hold on to people and not, like, a negative review. If you're holding on to someone and they're not getting results, and you're trying to feign like, oh, it's just we just need more time. We just need more time. And I mean, listen, time is a big part of things, but appropriate amount of time.
Appropriate amount of time.
They're going to tell everyone that you're a piece of shit.
Yeah.
It's so negative and so like.
I was speaking to my business coach, and she's like, "Oh, what's your rebooking rate?" I said, "Oh, 20%." She's like, "No, it should be 90." I'm like, "No, it shouldn't."
Yeah.
I go, if they're good and they're done in 2 sessions, it's not about rebooking the client. It's about how the client feels and doing the right thing by the client. Yeah, I could be booked out for the next 6, 7, 8 weeks, but I'd rather see new clientele than the existing people just because of a rebooking rate. You know,
you fix people. It's not what you do is not like, and what we do is not traditional methods anymore. We actually, and this is the truth, not fucking being boasting or blowing smoke up our asses. Like, if you get results, people get better than traditionally thought. If you combine your techniques, plus you refer out to the sports doctor, plus you send them out to the chiro, plus you get a good strength coach on board, people maximize their outcomes quite quickly, and you know,
they don't spend as much in the long run.
That's right. And guess what? New people equals a new network. New people equals a new community. So your best referrer is that word of mouth referral, right? So if you get them in and out, fix them so quick, are they going to talk about you or not?
Yeah, 100%. And people can tell if you talk shit, if you've actually got their best interest at heart. Like, they can tell. A lot of the times, like, oh, when should I make my next booking? You broken? Are you right? Yeah, all right. So you don't need it. You don't need another booking. I turn around, they're like, really?
So
do your rehab. That's it. You got to work on yourself. I've done all I can do now. That's it. Yeah. Rehab. Go see Benny.
I'm going to come slightly varied on that approach there, because I do think one thing we need to always identify is that pain and problem are 2 different things. Yeah. So, like, we're going to have failures in the lower systems and movement systems before we end up having pain in most cases. So, I mean, one of the things I'll often say to a client, once we've gotten that rehab, we've gotten past an issue, we often work in a more, I don't like the word preventative, but minimization. Maintenance type thing. Yeah. But it's about, all right, let's find a time. The goal is we stay ahead of things. So you should come seeing me feeling good, because if you come seeing me feeling bad, I kind of think of it's like I see someone, I fix them up, and then I'm like, sweet, go fuck yourself up and then call me. Like, I almost feel like it always feels neglectful sometimes from me to be like, whereas if I'm like, hey, let me come, just jump in a month and let's check in. Worst case scenario, the body's just feeling good and moving, improving, but we might be able to get on top of something before it becomes an issue. And again, that's just my personal preference.
Look, it's you're doing your due diligence over every client, but I'm talking about overall. Once they're fixed and, you know, they're tracking right, they're doing their rehab, they don't need treatment. They just need to keep doing what they're doing. And then, you know, once they start to feel tight, no worries, right?
Yeah, different. Yeah.
They don't need it, and you know they don't need it, don't rebook it. Is basically
and they know if you're just booking for the sake of it, don't you? Right? Like, if you, like, you as a practitioner, like, if someone comes in, you're like, well, what am I meant to do, man? Like, hold on, Siri's trying to listen to what I'm saying in the corner. This is creepy. But yeah, like, they know if you are, like, being honest or not, you know what I mean? Like, you can feel it when someone's working on you, whether they're just going through the motions or whether they're actually paying attention.
You can. That's right. So, Nath, can you take us through the difference of why I would see a chiro versus why I would see an osteo?
Hang on, sorry to jump in there. Touching on what we just, before we move on, we'll remember that question. Prophylactic treatment, that's the word. So prophylactic is like preventative. So, like, there's so many variables. Like a chiro, I feel a chiro is someone you should see for life now that I'm well educated on what they do because of my stresses from work, which is like looking down all day. So my neck's getting all kinds of fucked up. And what I do training wise, which is not much at the moment, but you got to be very contextual to the client. So, for example, as you said, Mina, like, once the body's feeling good, it's in good condition, but let's say they train 5 times a week. It says, bro, byproduct of training is stiffness, tightness, soreness. So you're going to have to come back and send me on a maintenance, prophylactic sort of routine. Whereas, like, I'm with my chiro, Nathan and Maddie, like, I need to go see every week because my neck is stiff as fuck every week. And until I stop doing what I'm doing, I'll continue to need that, because it's based on the person's physical and mechanical stresses. Is what you'll then like dictate how you will see them, because Nath works on the spinal cord, so the spine and the nervous system. We all work on the nervous system, but I definitely don't work on the spine near as what Nath will work on it, but handle all the soft tissue work and the rehab, whereas you'll do a very similar sort of job. It's totally variable and dependent on the person and what they do and what you can do for them.
It comes back to lifestyle, you know what I mean? Like, I was speaking about this with a patient on 2 days ago, and that, you know, when I worked back in Middle Park, we had a lot of CEOs in there, so a lot of high flyers, and I would be working with them, and they have these guys that come in every week, man, like every week, you know, I try and push them out to a couple of weeks, and they're like, no, I wasn't feeling great, so I come in weekly, and I'm like, all right, so here's the rehab we need to do. If we do this rehab, you don't need to see me so often, right? And I remember one of them just sat down one day, and I was like, you've been doing rehab? He's like, no. I was like, man, we got to do that rehab, because otherwise you have to keep coming in. And he's like, because otherwise we just won't get, like, I'm maintaining you and stepping you, but this is what's going to keep you good. I remember he looked at me, he's like, man, it's not worth my time. And I was like, what do you mean, man? He's like, to do the rehab work, I'd have to train 3 or 4 times a week. I probably need to do half an hour to an hour training. I was like, yeah, man, sweet. He's like, so with my business, that cost me too much money. I was like, but I cost money. He's like, man, I can get in, I can get out, it's efficient, I feel great, and I need you to know you charge way less than you're probably worth. And I was just like, cool, all right.
He's honest.
That's a different frame for me. But I also said, I was like, listen, if things change, well, then you know what we need to do.
Yeah,
that's right.
It's like you've equipped them with the honest advice that they need, and you said, I've given you the rehab, and look, he's come back and said, dude, I'm not going to do it. So I'd rather see you, because I know what you can do is actually much better for me at this time in my life. And you've given me everything I need, but, you know, he's made the informed decision then to go, right, let's just keep continuing as it is, because you've been honest and you haven't been a dirty salesman and said, look, dude, I get that, you know, a dirty salesman tried to sell him. Like you've said, all right, dude, this is what you need. If you don't choose to do it, then that's also okay. He said, I'm happy to keep treating you, no worries.
But just know there's options.
Yeah.
You haven't hidden. Yeah, you haven't been dishonest and not saying what he needed. You've been very honest and said, and he's weighed it up and said, look, I still would rather see you.
And that's right, and that's what they want. That's okay. You know what I mean? And I just kind of go back to my point before. It was just like, you know, you make sure you've done the right thing. And if they don't need it and they need rehab or they need somebody else, then do that.
Yeah, perfect.
And look, if they love you and they said, look, I'll just keep seeing you. He said, that's also mad. Doesn't worry me.
No,
and just know that I've been honest.
yeah, that's all it is.
All right, going back to what you asked, Nate. So did you ask for the differentiation between chiro?
Yeah, so just for the listeners, so why would someone, obviously symptom related or condition related, but why would someone see a chiro versus an osteo or vice versa?
Yes.
This is probably going to be some weird advice coming from a chiro, but probably for me these days, with the way things are hybriding, kind of location, who's closer to you? Like, I mean, me and Benny ran into each other the other day. I was out seeing Dr. Daniel Kirkbride out in, who's an osteo, to get a tune-up. Yeah. Like, professional a lot of times is not a big deal because a lot of us are bridging across. Now, there's also between chiro and osteo, there's huge variety. So, like, I'm on one spectrum, which is probably very what I call sports manual. And then there's the other spectrum, which is very Reiki kinesiology-esque, I would say. So, again, it's preference to your, like, what you like on your body. And if you don't know, well, there's only one way to find out. But I think chiro in general is going to probably generally be a bit more heavy manual, like spinal manipulative therapy, heavy mobilization, release work type stuff. Yeah. Whereas osteo will be probably slightly less of that, a bit more soft tissue needling and stuff like that. But I think the gap is shortening. Now, the philosophies from my understanding, and I apologize to any osteos listening if I butcher this, but chiro has always been about the nervous system, the idea that the brain controls the body by communicating through the spinal cord, out through every nerve to every bone, muscle, tendon, organ in the body. And when that system can send messages down and back up and regulate properly, everything works pretty well. My understanding for osteo is it's not dissimilar, except it's more focused around the vascular system, that the heart pumps blood around the body. So I think it's a bit same but different, if I'm honest.
I thought Daniel.
And of course,
Sorry, Dr. Daniel. Shout out. He's a good Kirkbride. He's a legend.
We'll have him
He
on.
just said, and I agree 100% with you, because so many professions are hybriding. Like, I've definitely more hybrid into a physio myo now, and I do a little bit of manipulative stuff, but just very simple. I can't do the complex manipulations. And like Mina says to me all the time, he goes, bro, leave the bread to the bread makers. Just let them do it, because they're better at it. And I'm like, you couldn't be more right. And Daniel described he's an osteo, right? He goes, well, I'm a cross between a chiro, osteo, physio, also a chiro, physio, and a myo. He goes, that's the best way to describe me, because I'm across those three professions and I am an osteo. And he said, traditionally, we're not quite good as an osteo at the assessment or rehab part. So at the rehab, pretty good at the assessment and treatment. He goes, that's where the physio's strengths lie. He goes, but now, because I've got an interest in rehab and strength and conditioning and lifting, he goes, I'm also quite good at the strength and conditioning rehab, because I am a coach as well. So it's like, and that's so variable on the practitioner.
Yeah. And that's where Chiro's do that now.
Oh man. Now it's sort of like, you just got to get the paperwork, and then you can kind of do your thing within those confines. You know what I mean? Like, this gives you this, and now what you choose to do with it happens from there. Obviously, each one has its particular bias and expertise towards things.
Right.
But what you do from there is different. Again, Chiro is not traditionally real good at rehab, although that is really heavily changing in modern day, both in teaching and in practice. But your sports chiro crew now, hopefully we're soon going to have masters of sports chiro similar to physio, because that's where we want to go, because there needs to be a clear differentiation of what you're getting. Same with, I think it's the same for pediatric. It takes a special knowledge to work with certain client bases. Now, you don't have to have done that education to work with that person. Any chiro can work with an athlete, but my definition of the difference, when people ask me of the difference between a chiropractor and a sports chiropractor, it's nothing to do with the treatment, right? Whether the person does needling or not is irrelevant. What is relevant is that sports chiropractor understands that sport, understands the requirements placed on that sport, understands the athlete's body as a requirement for that sport, and dictates treatment based around that. Whereas a standard chiropractor is more just looking at general health. And when it comes especially to elite athletes, health and elite performance are two different variables.
Well, it depends if they're natty or enhanced as well.
That just gets real fun.
Yeah, we all deal with dudes who are fucking big boys, and obviously, being in the health industry, we work with amateurs, pro athletes. We work with people who are, Mina works with pro motocross people, pro bodybuilders. Math works a lot with big powerlifters and pro bikini athletes and pro bodybuilders. We all delve into both natural and enhanced realms. But going back to what Nate said, you got to be first have an interest in the area, and then be specialized towards your clientele if that's who you
find your niche.
Yeah, and it's I often explain this to people. I look after even though my sports is my focus, the majority of my people are still Gen Pop, right? It's just sort of how it works.
Right, all of it.
If somebody comes in and they want to run better, now I know the biomechanics, I can help them with that, but I'm not going to do their run coaching. If you've seen me, I don't run. The fastest thing I've run to is a buffet in the last 5 years, man. But there's a really cool group of physiotherapists and strength coaches around the corner that specialize in it. And you know where I send those people? To them.
That's right.
Just I would assume they're not trying to teach people how to power lift.
They're not trying to practice the next. And
it's not that hard.
Touching on that, that's a triple win. Win for the client, win for the guys you're sending people to, and win for you, because the client gets better. You build a network. It's just a triple win, and it's the best.
100%.
It's good.
Mina, you got any other questions up your sleeve for Nate?
What's your
sorry,
Yep.
you go, bro.
So what's your, like, I guess, what's been your goal over the last kind of 5 years? So, you've had a kid, you've got a family.
Beautiful Poppy.
Yep, she's gorgeous. Listen, it's been a big journey, man.
Yeah, talk us through that.
So listen, I graduated 2013. I started the first day you could start in practice. I'd already had a job lined up for years. I've been mentoring with this guy in the north of Perth and really loved it, but just realized one day that I was never going to leave Perth if I stayed there. And that freaked me out, man. And literally just saw a job ad, and next minute, 2 months later, I was on a plane to Peru working in South America, learning Spanish. And just different. And again, completely different style to what I do now. It was very just heavy volume, which was fine in this situation, but it was not really what I enjoyed. I wasn't allowed to do the extremity work, the soft tissue work, the rehab, but that was the deal I made. So I spent 15 months working there, spent a bunch of time traveling, and then I got everything I could get out of that situation. And it was that moment where I hit a point where I was like, all right, I have nothing left to learn here. That's when I left. And I think that's an important lesson for anyone. And that's the same. I moved back to Melbourne, started working there, built that up, and then ran into a good friend of mine, did some work with her in Williamstown initially, and then moved down to Geelong, and eventually decided I liked Geelong and I wanted to be 100%. So now, I've just been focused. Obviously, my little girl's almost 4 months old. She'll be 4 months on next Tuesday. And so about this time last year, I got what we like to call the 9-month kick in the ass, which was like, hey, we're pregnant. I'll tell you what, you've never been busier in business and got life better sorted than finding out you got a little one on the way. So I've just been charging, man. Life's been good. I've been building up the networks. I've been, building up my own sort of, not notoriety, I guess is the wrong word, but just sort of following. And really, I've got a great group of crew that I look after down here. And I'm just excited. I love what I do. I love where things are going. And obviously sometime in the future, it'll be time to take that next step and do my own thing.
Yeah, awesome.
That's exciting, brother. That's exciting. Well done.
This is going to be very unprofessional, but I need to go get my charger because my Mac's about to go dead. 2 seconds. Hold the line.
We'll hold the fort. So, you're opening. When you're opening?
Yes, so I'm hoping for Monday. So Monday, we'll open up Monday. So I'll start launching a few things today. Monday's pretty much already booked out. I haven't advertised for it yet.
Yeah, dude. I like your branding and stuff. It's awesome.
Yeah, so again, I just trying to do something different, something just a bit that stands out, something that's basically doesn't just talk myo, physio, osteo. It gives people basically a well-rounded approach, which is why I went for that. And I wanted to build the whole my thing, so the personalization of my body. And adding clinic to the end of it, it kind of just says, well, anything body related, here we are.
No, it's good, dude. I want to come out there and have a look. So
once it's all done, it should be nearly done.
All right,
Back. Sorry, guys. That was a
good.
Sweat.
You're charged up.
Running.
No stress. Said all charged up, mate.
Mate, always ready. It's modern world. You got to be ready to go.
Right.
So, Nate, top 2 tips. How are you balancing me time, business time, growth, and family time? How are you doing that?
It's difficult. That's the first thing. And anyone listening should know that it is meant to be difficult.
Yep.
So, I mean, I've got an amazing partner that really gets on board with things. So she's part of the vision and part of the goal for what I want to do. Yeah. And the luxury of what I do is I don't work a lot of mornings. So I have most mornings off to be with the family. And we've got a great routine where we'll get up, go for a walk together. I jump into the gym because I live near my gym. So I jump in on the way past. Mm-hmm. And then she usually comes to the gym as I'm leaving. So I pick up Barb and she does her session and we meet after. But routine is crucial, man. Routine. I've made exceptions. I've get up an hour earlier than I used to do some reading and some work on the business. I literally just this week realized my screen time is getting out of control, so I've put limits. I've capped Instagram, I've capped Facebook, I've capped a heap of stuff. Just trying to make sure there's no social media in the bed kind of thing. Like, 'cause I used to sit in bed on my phone like this. Like, we plan our weeks in advance. Like, we always eat dinner together. Like, there's just simple things we're trying to put in.
Yeah.
And any time, like, I'm not one of those dads that stands off. So I walk in and she's like, take the baby. I'm like, yeah, sweet. So I just try and be and do those things you can. So you do as much as you can. When we first had Bub, like, training for me is meditation, but I realized, like, I just had to give myself a break. So I did what I could do. So I did maybe 2 sessions a week, and then I did 3. And then I gave myself 12 weeks just to tick it over. And by the time 12 weeks coming around, I was able to do 4. Now I do average 4 to 5 sessions a week around everything else. So but I took the time and built it in, rather than you can't just try and slot a baby into your old life. It's a whole new life. So you need to let that happen and then figure it out. And to be honest, there's no longer a routine. We have a framework, because the baby can decide at any time that that's not what's happening. So I literally have a framework, and I have it rated in priority. And if things go well, we do this. If things start to go pear-shaped, well, this can stop. But we have to do this kind of thing. So you just got to be adaptable and patient.
Yeah.
That's right. And prioritising what's important.
Good. It's good info. Because, a lot of us are kind of hitting that age now. And I got to ask this question as well, is like, how do you balance me time, And it was a good question. I actually reflected on that myself. So what I have started doing now is I plot things I need to do first.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And my week starts on a Sunday.
Yeah.
So plot everything first that I need to do, catch ups with you guys, things to do with my partner, gym time, and then all these things. So once you kind of plotted all your excuses, right, of things that you need to get done, then I can see how much work I can actually fit in. And then I literally plot my work times around that. And for me, that gives me a sense of balance, Mm-hmm. One day I'll do a morning shift, one day I'll do a night shift, one day I'll do a morning shift. I need a little bit of variation. So, there are a couple of things that work for me, because, we've been, I'm sure both of you guys as well, running yourself to the ground, 8 to 8 every day. Can't keep up, mate.
Yeah. And you can do it for a stretch. There's times where you've just got to, like I did that when I was in South America. We averaged 6 days a week, sometimes 7 days a week for over 12 months. And it does compromise things eventually. And it was tough, and it was just the system was in. But opening your own business, you just got to do the work. But you've got to have the goal, you know what I mean? Because if you don't have the goal, you can never get there. So you're like, all right, I'm working hard now so that in 12 months or 2 years, I don't have to.
Yeah, right. It's like a guy that I took through the business plan yesterday. I said, oh, what's your goal, man? I don't know, just open up, and then, maybe I'll get someone on board. I go, fuck, you got no idea, have you?
Fucking roasted him.
Yeah, but if I didn't care about him, I said, yeah, that's not bad. That's a good idea. Right?
Oh,
but for me, it's just like, you need a fucking plan, dude. All right? Because if you scale too big, or you're not scaling enough, it's a double-edged sword, right? No. So if by this month I need to be here, by this month I need to be there, by this year I need to be there. You know what I mean? My whole approach has been structured. And I'm kind of 2 years into my 5-year plan, and I'm actually ahead. I'm 6 months ahead of what I originally wanted to do. Awesome. So for me, I'm wrapped. I'm confident. I'm happy. Mm-hmm. Shit's hard. Don't get me wrong, but I can deal with that. But when you don't have a plan and you're just kind of hoping for the best, it doesn't work. It just doesn't work.
No, exactly right. Exactly right. You need to have something to aim at.
Yeah.
You just need a goal, a vision.
Goal, and then the rest is accountability. Just get shit done, get it done, get whatever you have to do done, lock in the time, and then kind of go from there. So any other questions for the big man?
Nathan, is there anything you want to touch on that you'd like to talk about that we haven't asked?
Listen, I'm just thinking about things. When it comes to chiro, I think is probably, obviously that's where my expertise is with things. If people are looking for chiro, do your research. Like you would look for a physio or a myo. Speak to some friends, look at their website, look at their stuff, see if what they're saying sounds good to you. And then don't be afraid to ask questions. don't be afraid to, seek other opinions if that's what you need to do when it comes to anything. But just do the work. When it comes to anybody, like I said the other day, if we want results, we have to do the work. So if you want to change your body, and with it, whether you want physio, chiro, or myo, you got to do the work, man.
That's right. And like find someone who not only is good at what they do, but also someone who gels well with you, because a lot of depends on how far gone your body is. Like as we all have, we've got our clients who are with us forever. Like find someone you actually like and get on with, and hopefully they do a really good job, and then stick at that. It's no one session will fix you.
No, I mean we're pretty good, but not that good.
Yeah, like I said, it sounds like if I could fix everything in one go, I'd be the busiest person in the world, but I'd also be the most expensive. It'd be 10 grand a session, and I'd be booked out for the next 2 years. So that doesn't happen. So it sometimes takes some time.
That's right. All right. Well, you guys happy to wrap it up there?
Yeah. Thoughts? Anything we can take it in?
Well, that's it.
All right. Well, I think in the meantime, Ben needs to sort himself out and get some better reception and join us in the 21st century. And maybe get himself a sweet mic.
You're in St Kilda, mate. What's going on?
Still on dial-up. I'm in fucking Perth right now. And this is...
Can't even hear him because it's that bad.
Shit.
All right. Well...
It's dropping out like crazy.
It is, my friend. Well, next time we are going to be interviewing the big man. So hopefully he sorts it out between now and then. But thanks for hanging out, guys. Thanks for tuning into episode 3 of the HBI podcast, Health, Business, and In Between. I'm sure we'll be posting this on social media at some stage, so leave comments, share it on the story, and if you have any questions, ask away. But until next week, have an awesome day.
Peace out.
Right. See you, lads.
Thank you for tuning in to the HBI podcast, Health, Business, and In Between. If you learned something today, please grab a screenshot, throw it up on the gram, tag us in it, and if there's any questions, please just reach out. Also, if you can leave a 5-star review wherever you get your podcast, that really helps us get the message out. As always, stay awesome, and we'll talk to you soon.